Not Charlie, he's talking.
You got here early and he's still in
I
something.
know, I'm like, he's talking, I'm just gonna let him go. We're gonna let him enjoy that.
Hi.
How are you?
All right, how about you?
You guys good camera wise?
I don't need it.
No.
I don't have it on.
Still light out for a change during a board meeting.
It's awful.
Daylight savings time.
You know why it's awful? Because my poor girl doesn't wanna go to bed at 6:30, she thinks it's playtime. Mom, it's still light out, I'm like, I don't care.
Charlie, you ready?
We gotta get started.
Yeah.
Come on, Charlie.
Oh, hello.
You gotta sign, you're the only one that
Oh,
has to sign.
and sign in, please. You're too young to know that one, don't you?
You would be surprised.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order, 6:32. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Crave here.
Cummings here.
Better here.
Tommy here.
Sucks here.
Lewandowski here.
And Karen did let me know that she wouldn't be able to attend tonight, so.
All right, I have in front of me the proper verification of meeting notices. Brings us up to our agenda. Are there any changes to our agenda this evening?
No changes to the agenda, but we did have one last minute addition. You should have a resignation letter in front of you from Maria Heredia, so we'll add that to the staffing portion.
Okay. Any other questions, board members, additions, subtractions?
I move to approve. I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Setz, seconded by Ms. Kwame to approve as presented with the one additional resignation. All board members in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries on a 7-0 vote. Excuse me, 6-0 vote. The, brings us to the action of the minutes from the regular meeting from Monday, February 13th. Are there any changes to the meeting minutes?
I will move for approval as presented.
Do we have a second?
Cummings will second.
We've got a motion to approve as presented by Mr. Crave, seconded by Ms. Cummings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Brings us to the minutes from the regular meeting of Monday, February 13th, the closed session. Any noted changes here?
I move to approve those minutes as presented.
Cummings will second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Ms. Cummings, to approve as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Brings us to the minutes from the special meeting on Wednesday, March 1st, excuse me. Any noted changes here?
I will move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mr. Crave, seconded by Ms. Kwame, to approve as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Brings us to the special meeting minutes of Wednesday, March 1st, the closed session. Any noted changes here?
No, Cummings will make a motion to approve the closed session from March 1st.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Cummings, seconded by Mr. Crave, to approve as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Brings us up to board reports, and I see we have Miss Maddie Webster present, so you have the floor, Maddie.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me talk this evening. I'm Madeline Webster, a senior at Waterloo High School, and I'm here to give you a quick overview of what the student body has been up to lately. To start off, we just finished up our winter sports. So to start with girls basketball, the girls basketball team finished their season last week in the first round of regionals, losing to Marshall 36-47. They finished their season 10-16, but have a lot to be proud of. And the boys basketball team finished their season losing to a tough Partyville. In the first round of regionals, our boys have played extremely hard all year and have seen some major improvement in their skill of all players. And then our wrestling team finished their season having 3 wrestlers qualified for the WIAA state tournament and competed at the Cole Center last weekend. Congratulations to Avery, Michaela, and Trevor for qualifying for state. Both Avery and Michaela lost their first round, but Trevor was able to secure a win Thursday night, putting him in the top 8 of the state. With that being said, we are very excited to start our spring sports. First off, track practice started last Monday, and our first meet is in Ripon College this Thursday. And then softball practice started today, and baseball practice starts next Monday. And all juniors took the ACT test last week Tuesday, and the rest of the students had a normal school day. And Wednesday, March 1st was the National Honor Society induction ceremony. 15 students got inducted to the NHS. There are 12 current members to the NHS. We even had Mr. Schneider speak as a guest speaker, which was really nice. And during FFA week, we participated in many fun activities, like dress-up days. We had class competitions such as Name the Tune, hay bale toss, and a relay race. There was a staff versus student basketball game on Friday as it got canceled due to the no school a few weeks ago. And the Future Business Leaders of America competed very well last month at the regional competition. There will be many students moving on to state. The following FBLA members placed in the top 3 and will compete in Green Bay at the FBLA State Leadership Conference. In first place, we had Evie Kwame in Intro to Parliamentary Procedure, Jenna Spees in Intro to Business Communication, and then second place was Mateo Cephalou in Business Law, and third place was Julia Asik in Business Calculations, and Corinne Redsloff in Healthcare Administration. We are wishing our forensics team good luck at their district forensics competition. It is tonight in DeForest, and we will hopefully have students move on to state. This past few weeks, we've been thinking about the upcoming prom. The juniors voted on court, which is posted in the bulletin board outside the cafeteria. And English and history classes participated in a fun event called the Gatsby Gala. Students worked really hard to create trifolds to share information about the novel The Great Gatsby. During this event, students were able to learn more about specific elements in the book and even got to dress up in 1920s attire. We even got to vote on the best products and best outfits, which was super fun. We want to thank Ms. Holden and Mrs. Schimmelfnig for working hard to organize that. Feel free to check out the winning trifolds, which are displayed just past the entry doors. Overall, Waterloo students have been working really hard and keeping busy as the end of the term is approaching. And we are excited to start term 4 strong after the break. Thank you for having me speak. Are there any questions?
Any questions, board members?
So, one question. Who put you up to saying Mr. Schneider did a good job?
Well, we did. I don't think we've ever done a guest speaker at the NHS ceremony, so it was nice to have it, because we have all the students talk, so it was nice to have like somebody come in and talk, because then we have like our impacts, but then also like how we're impacting other people, so all the parents and everyone can hear that.
Good job, Maddie.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for the very comprehensive update.
Of course. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. Takes us into administrative reports. Do we have Mr. Bartelt? In the meeting.
Guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
It looks like maybe my camera's not working for some reason. But since you can hear me, I will just move forward. First off, thank you, Maddie. A lot going on in the high school this past month. A lot of positive, great things our students are doing and our staff. So thank you, Maddie, for presenting. I just want to touch base. It is state testing time for us at the high school. A lot of different tests going on. As Maddie explained, we did have the ACT last week. I just want to provide a little more update with what that all entails with the ACT. So it's all juniors, and prior to the ACT, once a week we had ACT prep classes that were specific to each subject. So reading, math, ELA, science. One of our teachers would open up their flex time, and we had anywhere from 15 to 30 students attend those ACT prep classes leading up to the ACT. And then on one of our snow days, we did have an ACT prep full practice test for about 3.5 hours that Miss Burns put on. We had a good amount of students turn out for that. Prior to the ACT, we did have all juniors attend an ACT strategies class, and that's where we have staff go through a presentation to give tips about taking the ACT test. We did talk about goal setting with all of our juniors. As sophomores, they took the ACT Aspire, and it gives students a range of scores. So it gives a 4-point range, for example, 18 to 22. And we set goals that students had to, their goal was to get in the high-end range. So for a student at 18 to 22, their goal was to get a 22. If they get a 22 on their ACT, they qualify for open campus first term next school year. If they get within 2 points of that score, they get their name printed for drawing. So we incentivize so all students have an opportunity to have open campus, you know, to take that test seriously. That is an indicator on our school report card. So we had a very good turnout for our ACT testing, and we'll be wrapping it up this week. But we had really good attendance. Very successful day. Our staff, they adjusted. They were all over, making it a normal day for the rest of the school. So we had staff in different classrooms, adjusting their schedules. So a big shout out to our staff and our students with the ACT. Coming up next, we have the forward exam in the high school. That is just for high school students in 10th grade in the area of social studies. Ms. Zeman and Ms. Deacon will talk more about that at their levels. There's a little bit more to it, but at the high school, it's just social studies. So Mr. Weedle is testing students March 21st and 22nd in his U.S. History 10 class on the forward exam. And then in mid-April, we decided April 12th, we are doing the pre-ACT test, which is the new ACT Aspire. The state of Wisconsin made this shift for this school year. You heard me reference the ACT Aspire before, but now it is the pre-ACT, and it's just a contract that the state of Wisconsin went in. I think it's Iowa-based, is the pre-ACT, and it's very similar to the ACT Aspire, except it has to be completed in one sitting, and there is no writing with the pre-ACT. But the scores are going to line up directly with the ACT, so it's a little more similar than the ACT Aspire. So again, it's testing season up in the high school. Wanted to give you a rundown of what it looks like and ask if there's any questions about the testing.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a clarifying question. So are there forward tests coming up in other subject areas, or does high school just have to take social studies?
Yeah, good question. High school is just social studies. And again, it's just 10th grade. So there's no forward testing for freshmen, juniors, and seniors.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that none of these testing windows really overlap. So we have testing just throughout, it'd be great to have one testing day and get everyone tested. We just aren't able to do that just based on windows that the state sets up ahead of time.
Any other questions, board members? Hey, Sean, I have one question, I guess. At the conclusion of said testing, will the board receive any sort of kind of summary to where we're at, I guess, as a district and where we compare?
Yeah, I am more than happy to present on that. We go through it as a staff. We won't get our ACT results probably until mid-May. Sometimes late May, early June, we get all of them back. So I'd be more than happy to present this summer to kind of show the trends where we've scored over the past 5 or 6 years compared to other schools. They do, the ACT provides really good comprehensive reports in each subject area on where we're currently scoring. So I'd be more than happy to present on that in the future.
Sounds good. Any other questions? Thank you, Sean. Brings us to Ms. Zeman. You have the floor.
So unfortunately, Mr. Bartelt is correct. It is testing season. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the forward exam. The forward exam is for students in grades 3 through 8 plus 10th grade, which is what Mr. Bartelt talked to you about. The window for the forward exam is March 20th through April 28th. And at the intermediate and middle school level, we are going to use that whole entire window for testing, whether that is small group testing, testing in the content areas, or makeup testing. We have already completed at the intermediate and middle school level all of the training that is required by the state for test administrators and paras so that they can do small group testing and testing in their classrooms. A letter to families went out last week from Mrs. Armentrout's office indicating to families that the testing is coming. Our special education and our ESL teachers and counselors attended an accessibility training for the forward exam so that we can be accurate in identifying the accommodations and designated supports that our students need while they're taking the exam. And those accommodations and designated supports are currently being entered into the testing system. Our testing schedule will be solidified tomorrow at our faculty meeting. Staff have input into what that schedule looks like, and so we will be working on that. And Holly and I are coordinating our testing times so that we can use as many staff as possible for our small group and one-on-one testing sessions.
Any questions, board members? All right. Well, happy testing season. Thank you. Mrs. Viken, you have the floor.
I'm not sure if she's
We have Mrs.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, yep, we're super excited, just like Ms. Zeman, to be entering into our testing season. The same third grade, we have 5 testing sessions scheduled, and we're doing the same thing. Small groups, we're right now in the middle of our test prep stuff, where our teachers are helping kids, especially our new third graders, get just accustomed to how the forward exam looks online and doing all that sort of work right now. We are not going to start the testing until after spring break for our younger students. So because we only need those 5 days, it's going to work out that we have plenty of time available for us to be able to get that done. Our fourth graders have about 8 sessions, and again, we're going to start after spring break with our fourth grade as well. So I've met with the fourth grade team to talk about the schedule and what works best for their kids. And they, just like Ms. Zeman said, we are working together to create these schedules and work with all the staff so that we can make our small groups and things like that. Our teachers have already done the training as well, so here we go. We're ready.
All right. Questions, board members? Thank you, Mrs. Viken. Brings us to Ms. Armentrout. You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to take an opportunity tonight to just update the board on our district SEL, social emotional learning, and mental health statistics, kind of where we're at. We included some screenshots of some of the slides from our last meeting, so I'm just going to kind of have you follow along with those how that impacts change positively. So, as a district team, we dove even further in our teaming and collaboration, and we decided that our common theme would be the goal of increasing our student support team or SST process, which is the process that we utilize for students that may be struggling academically, behaviorally, emotionally. And so our team, both our multi-level systems of support team as well as our SEL mental health district team, both work really hard to work on that process at each level. So then we basically are implementing 3 cycles. So the very first cycle we implemented was in September through November, where each building level was really promoting the SST process, helping staff understand it better. And then our second cycle was sort of taking what we knew from that and growing that SST process more from November to January. And then my update tonight brings us kind of up to speed from our last meeting, which we had on our PD day at the end of February. At that particular meeting, each level, elementary, intermediate school, middle school, and high school, each level team would shared out to the district team, you know, what they've implemented, what they've learned from that process, so that we can learn from each other, and then again go back to our school level and figure out our very next step. So, and keep in mind, I'm simplifying this quite a bit. So I invite building leaders to jump in if you have anything to add. But at each level, they sort of tweezed out the area of focus for, what made sense to them. And at the elementary level, the focus was really on behavior and shifting mindsets regarding student behavior. At the ISMS level, focusing on streamlining the SST process and increasing its use for more successful transition, especially from elementary to intermediate school, and then especially again from middle school to high school. And then high school, again, working as an entire staff to gain feedback and refining the process, kind of to develop a system of accountability for assistance. So that's kind of in a nutshell what the work of that district and then building level teams. Questions on that?
Any questions, board members?
Yeah, I have a question. Are these teams meeting like when you guys have PD, or are they meeting on a more regular basis? Or what does that look different across the different buildings?
Yeah, that's a great question. Each building is sort of using what makes sense to them. So I know staff meetings have been utilized, and then each building has their own, smaller cohesive team that's been meeting, and it really has been based on need. So I don't know if anyone wants to jump in if I misrepresented, but that's my understanding is that at the building levels, it's based on what's working for each building and that staff.
Thank you. And then you talked about each kind of building's goal. Are those goals meant to kind of be wrapped up at the end of the year, and then this process continues with a new goal next year, or is this an ongoing thing?
That's another great question. It's meant to be a cycle, and each time we come together, when we analyze the work, we really do take a moment to step back and say, is this the right work? Are we in the right direction? What do we need to abandon? What might we need to add? Right now, the team has consistently across the levels determined that continuing with the SST process makes the most sense, and it has been very interesting just to see again how each level really had a little different area of focus and need. And then what's really nice is that across all levels, pre-K-12, we can learn, from the other levels and the work that they do as we complete the process. But we really are trying to use that PDSA process to break it down into small incremental steps so that we you try something, study it, see if it's making an impact, and then figuring out what the very next step is so that we can keep the process moving. Sometimes when you have such big work, it's hard to see change, and it's easy to lose sight because it's just so big. So trying to again hit those incremental cycles can really help us see if we're having an impact.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Armitrout. Brings us to Ms. Gould for a grants report.
I wanted to share some good news with all of you. District applied for and will be receiving $31,296 from the Rural Education Achievement Program, better known as REAP, under the Small Rural School Achievement or SRSA program. The REAP is a grant program designed to address the unique needs of rural school districts that may lack the personnel and resources to compete effectively for federal competitive grants, and that often receive a grant allocation to the amounts that are too small to be effective in meeting their independent purposes. The grant period runs from July 2nd to July 1st, 2023 to September 30th of 2025, so it's in the future. Districts are eligible for the SRA program if they meet the statutory criteria for being both small and rural. To be considered small, a district must have a total average daily attendance of fewer than 600 students, or exclusively serve schools that are in counties with population density of fewer than 10 people per square mile. To be considered rural, all schools within the district must have a school code of 41, 42, or 43, or be in an area of the state defined as rural by a government agency of the state. So the REAP SRSA funds may be used to support activities authorized under any of the following ESEA programs. So the Title 1A, which is improving basic programs. Title 2, Part A, supporting effective instruction. Title 3, language instruction for English learners and immigrant student activities. Title 4, Part A, the student support and academic achievement grants, and then Title 4B. So over the next few months, we'll be working on building a budget to best utilize this funding. Anyone have any questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you. Brings us to Mr. Henning, referendum events update.
Yeah, hopefully everybody received their information invitation in the mail to upcoming events. We do have a couple morning sessions where we'll have some coffee, and if people want to sit and talk about the referendum, they can do that. That'll be right here at school at the community center. But we're really hoping for a large turnout, and that is on April 2nd from 10:30 to 1 o'clock. We'll be having an open house in the district where we will have a free spaghetti dinner for anyone that wants to attend. We believe we have a sponsor for that event, although I can't officially name the sponsor yet, but that information will be forthcoming. But we really would like to see people come, take tours of the school, where staff will be here. You can talk to staff. We'll have information about the referendum. Even if you're not interested in the referendum, we just encourage everybody to come, because I know we never got a chance to have an open house during COVID for the new part of the building, and some people haven't been in the building for years. So we just hope everybody comes. We're planning for a big turnout, and Helen makes very good spaghetti, so we hope everybody will participate in that. We do have a couple more informational flyers that will be coming out. One will be early next week, and then one about 5 or 6 days after that, so you'll get them right before the election. One is a specific list of what the referendum funds will be used for. We did do some updating to the website today, so that if you want to see some of that information, you can go to the website, and we'll have much more up there in the next couple days as well. So just trying to get as much information out there so people can vote accordingly as possible. So yeah, we encourage everybody to attend one of those sessions if they're looking for more information, because we'd like to make sure everybody has the information that they need.
Questions, board members? Thank you, Mr. Henning. Brings us into the approval of bills and vouchers. Included in your former packet is the treasurer's report and the superintendent's listing of disbursements through February 28th and the district receipts, for the month of February. Are there any remaining questions that were not answered prior to the meeting in regards to the report, receipts for the disbursements? Hearing none, I'd look for a motion.
I will move for approval.
Cummings will second.
Okay, and just for clarification's sake, your motion is to approve all three items that are listed?
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion? Move into a vote, it'll be a roll call vote. Mr. Craig?
Yes.
Cummings, yes.
Schneider is a yes.
Yes.
That's yes.
Lewandowski, yes.
All right, motion will carry on a 6-0 vote. Brings us to legislative updates. Any new information to share, Mr. Henning or board members?
So I did put a packet in front of you tonight that I printed off the SAA website. It's just the School Administrators Alliance talking points for legislative advocacy. So if you want to use those, you can, you don't have to. But it points out some very specific things that are being worked on. I did talk with Senator Jagler and Representative Dietrich about what's coming up, just kind of advocating for the district and resources. I think everything that has been put out to date is indicating that maybe there won't be a lot of that coming our way, but we're still hoping to change their mind and find some sort of happy medium between what the governor's proposed and what Republicans might want to have coming our way. So, you know, it's a grassroots effort. So we would encourage, you know, anybody and everybody to contact your legislators and advocate for K-12 public education, because we know it's often about resources, especially in small schools, and without resources, it makes it difficult. So.
Any questions, board members, or commentary? Thank you, Mr. Henning. Any announcements this evening?
Nothing.
All right, that'll bring us to public input. Is there anyone who wishes to provide public input this evening? All right, we will move on into new business. First action item is staff positions. Please note, as discussed briefly in the approval of the agenda, we do have an additional name you were provided with the
Maria Heredia.
letter of resignation. So we have 2 resignations and 1 part-time appointment of a familiar name on this sheet. Any discussion, board members?
For the, Elizabeth is coming back to do the summer program.
Yep. You okay with that?
Yeah, I just was surprised to see her name, so.
So is that school.
Yeah, nobody really
What
knows
was
that
that?
program as good as she does. In fact, we're struggling trying to find somebody to run it because it's just such a unique knowledge base. I ran it a couple of years, but it would be much better if Elizabeth ran it. So, yeah, I reached out to her and said, hey, would you like to help us out? And she agreed to do that. So yeah, she'll be helping us out in the summer, and then we'll bring a couple more people next month for you to approve that will assist her, and then there'll be a special summer program put together for those students that are migrant status that will run in support of summer school as well.
And I failed to mention, we also have, as you're well aware, but winter co-curricular and spring co-curricular positions posted here. Do you care to elaborate? I would have a question. I believe I know the answer, but I'll hear it from you, Mr. Henning, in regards to the 3 positions for baseball and
Yep.
2 split 3.
Yeah, so it seems like everything kind of goes through trends, right? For a while there, coaches were agreeing to split contracts in order to get another person on the payroll and those sorts of things. We went away from that for quite a few years, but that seems to be the trend again. So since there's really only enough numbers to warrant the 2 coaching positions, Keith and Annan, what they sometimes like to do to get a 3rd coach is they throw their contracts together in a pot and then just divide it up 3 ways. So they each take, or Keith and Annan would take a little bit less in order to get Jacob. So it doesn't cost the district any more money, but you get 3 people on the payroll. So that's what that signifies.
Thank you. Any other questions, board members? So I'd be looking for a motion here to take action.
I move to approve the staff as presented with the inclusion of Maria's resignation.
Second.
Okay. So I've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Kwame, seconded by Ms. Cummings to approve as presented. All those in favor?
I'm gonna abstain on the head baseball coach.
Okay. So for that single position, it will carry on a 501 vote, but the rest will show on the record of a 6-0 vote for approval. And I would add thank you to both of our staff members for your contributions, those that have now resigned from the district. Moving on to action item B, certified work staff available. We have a supplementary document here in the handout. And Mr. Henning, do you want to elaborate there?
Yep, so this is kind of the first step in the process for renewing contracts. So you're technically not renewing anyone's contract tonight, per se, but we do sort of like a quantitative approach to the positions that are needed. And that's everything from certified staff to support staff to admin support and so forth, based on numbers of students and positions available. We did this year, just so it would be a little bit more clear, put some of the support staff and admin support names with that. Although again, you're technically not approving contracts for those people tonight, but you can see what those positions tend to be tied to. So we've taken a numbers approach to it and would like to present that to the board tonight for work available. Obviously numbers can change and students move in and students move out and those kinds of things. But for the most part, we're pretty sure this is what we'll need for next year. Now, based on budget, based on referendum, based on staff members that might leave, or maybe want to switch, then we'll have to fine tune that for you in April so that you can approve contracts for specific individuals for all of those positions after we figure out, what happens with the referendum and then what staffing-wise individual people might want to or will be doing, if that makes sense.
Yes. Any questions for Mr. Henning on that?
Yeah, can you just, for high school, where there's some of the English is 2.24 and science is 2.17, is that science with the math at 2.33, like those really low decimals,
Yep.
those combined?
Yeah, that's only because there's some shared staff in there with the middle school.
Okay.
We don't really have a 0.33 or a 0.24 person. It's just that they're spread amongst more of the building. Usually it's the middle school.
Okay.
particularly like in those exploratory classes, you'll see like your elective teachers each take 1/4 of
Yeah,
electives.
Yeah, I know those. I was just talking about like the English, the math, and the science at high school are
Yeah,
the smaller
same
numbers.
thing.
Those are across the middle school too.
Yeah, or either across the middle school or
Just within.
we do have one teacher that teaches 2
Math.
subjects. So.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, board members? So it's recommended that we approve as presented. It is duly noted, the action does not preclude the district from making changes at a later date, should the need arise.
I will so move for approval.
Are we approving just the staff?
Action item A, or excuse me, B is the certified staff work
Yep.
available.
Yeah, I did split it into 2 parts just in case you wanted to do something different with those.
Are we approving, is the motion to approve both of those or to just approve one?
Both.
Then I have one more question.
By all means.
On the support staff positions, the very first one listed, it says pre-K 8, what is that position?
You're on.
I'm on the,
Oh, that is an office position.
okay, that's what I was guessing, but I didn't know and it wasn't there, okay, thank you.
Not that it affects the motion in any sense. but-
No, I was just curious because the rest of
No,
them
I have
didn't
another,
one.
just, we have one of our resignations lined out, but not the other because it was so fresh. So we showed.
Right, it just came today. Yeah.
Gonna need 2 here, instructional aides from the current. So is there a second to this motion to approve both actions, item B and C, in one fell swoop here?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion before we take that vote? Okay, hearing none, so the motion is on the floor by Mr. Craig, seconded by Ms. Lewandowski, to approve the certified work staff available and the administrative support staff work available. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Takes us to action item D. The selection of the board canvassers and setting the date for the canvassing meeting for the April 4th election. As listed here in the former packet, it's proposed the meeting to be held on April 10th at 4 p.m. in the district office. It's recommended to the clerk to appoint Kathy Tarnowski, Sarah Deppie to join Ms. Lewandowski to serve as the Board of Canvassers for the spring election, and set that meeting date of Monday, April 10th, 4 p.m. in the district office. Also recommended that Lori Billingsley serve as an alternate for the Board of Canvassers if needed. Any discussion here?
Can you make it by 4, Kate?
I can't because I have a staff meeting that day.
Okay.
So I maybe could make it by 4:30, but 5 would be the safer time.
Okay.
Any other discussion? So what we would be looking to approve here is appointing Ms. Tarnowski and Deppie to join Ms. Lewandowski and Lori Billingsley as an alternate, but the meeting would change to 5 p.m. on April 10th in the district office.
Also move again.
Cummings in second.
So I've got the motion by Mr. Craig, seconded by Ms. Cummings, to approve here as presented with the one noted change in time to 5 p.m. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Brings us to action item E, Neola Policy Services. As you can see here, the district would look to use Neola to verify or update said policies for the district. There is a cost in doing so. Pricing that was obtained states it would be $16,400 over a 3-year time span. recommended that we move forward with contracting for Neola for the district policy services. Are there any questions or any information you'd like to add, Mr. Henning? I think it's a well-known fact that we are long overdue to complete said overhaul.
Yeah, I did make a copy of the contract, if anybody wants to see it, I just didn't make one for everybody. There's really two players kind of in the policy business. Scott Brown, who would be our representative from Neola, he told me that Neola now has 311 districts in the state of Wisconsin out of 458, I think we have total now. So they really kind of become the key player in that business. I know we had WASB at one time. I'm not sure we were super happy with them, although we got some good policy work out of that agreement. But I think this is the next step for the district, and I know Sarah said that she did some research and liked what they put together. So I think this is really the best direction for the district, and I know it costs money, but it's not something that we can go without. So I would just recommend that we go with Neola.
We have to pay the $16,400 upfront, or is it?
Well, we would have an option of spreading it out over a couple of years if we wanted to, and I guess we were just kind of asking permission to do what's best fiscally for the district based on how the end of the year finishes. So if we can afford to pay it all and just get it done with, there's a little bit of savings by paying it ahead of time, but if we need to spread it out, we'll spread it out, and they're willing to work with us on that too, so.
So we looked into this a couple years ago. Can you remind me, Brian, like what we get for our policy? Like they come to us with a binder and say essentially like, here are your policies, right? Like here's all the updated policies.
No, they'll give you templates and then you have to go through and tailor them to what you want for the district. So there's like choices all the way through there on how.
Like which ones you want to select?
Well, they'll tell you what legally you have to have for policies, and then there's policies that you can expand upon too to kind of have the full scope. But I think what Kate's asking is, like when they present a policy, is it like, here you go, take it or not? And that's not necessarily what it is. There are choices that the policy committee will have to make within that policy. You know, sometimes it leans a lot more strict, sometimes it's a little looser. And so the policy committee will definitely have to meet on a real regular basis to go through those if we want to get through those in the next year.
And is part of what we're paying for to have a representative sit down with the policy committee to go through this?
Yeah, there's a limited amount of hours, but yes, they're available. It sounded like, you know, in-person hours were a little bit limited, but they would be happy to Zoom with us as much as we needed, especially as we're drafting. So we might have some, you know, the availability to get them here working with us in person might be a little bit limited, but we would definitely have access to them via Zoom if we needed to.
And how about like, I guess, are we paying like via, like while we're under this contract also via phone? Like could the policy committee finish up and like, hey, we need to call someone to ask about such and such a policy? Is that the thing that's open to us, or does that do we run out of time on that?
No, you have access to that.
Okay.
Yep, they're always available for those kind of questions and calls. Yeah, they, you know, and I forget how many attorneys they have on staff because they serve the entire Midwest. So they have, you know, dozens of attorneys on staff that you can call anytime, and that's part of your service.
Yeah, because when we looked at this a couple years ago, with WASB, they have all all the updated policies too. But we as a board have to do more work because we have to go to the website, we have to dig them out, we have to figure out where we want to be. So that takes a lot more, like that would take the policy committee meeting on a regular basis and figuring some more of that out, right? And they're still there to call. Whereas when we were talking about Neola, it's like you have someone come in, you have someone help you get everything updated, and then you're continuing to roll with those updates. And so I guess where I'm sitting right now, I think our policies are dangerously out of date. And so I'd like to see them updated right away.
Yeah, and it does come with a $1 million guarantee that if anything would get tested, you know, in court, then they would support that defense. So there are some advantages to doing that. But yeah, the days of developing local policies, which this district has a history of doing, you know, served the district very well for a long time, but there's just too much legal requirements now for us to try to stay the experts on it.
I would agree with Ms. Lewandowski. The investment is high, but one instance of being out of compliance, and that'll be a small bill versus the other. So, any further discussion?
Cummings will make a motion to move forward with the Neola Policy Services.
Tommy will second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor to move forward as recommended to contract with Neola for the district policy services. I'm going to assume, and please clarify in your motion, that we will give the district the ability to work with the best fiscal option here at the end of the year to include payment. Okay, and you second that?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Brings us up to action item F. The next, I'm sorry, 2 months out, board meeting in May falls on the same night as the top 10 conference banquet. So we would like to move the meeting back. I believe we've already discussed this, but looking to just confirm board members can attend on I'm changing the date, to May 15th with the same 6:30 p.m. start time. It's currently scheduled for the 8th. We're looking to move it back a week.
Cummings will make a motion to move forward with the May new date as of May 15th at 6:30.
Schneider will second. I've got a motion on the floor by Ms. Cummings, seconded by Schneider to approve as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Brings us up to a discussion, item G. After the election, we will have a reorganization meeting. The stated here, please let me know your committee assignment interests so we can start to assemble committees or have an idea for committees. And note that there is a second meeting in April, on the 24th. Any discussion, clarification points for anyone?
Yeah, I would just ask the board to consider again the meeting date. I know we had a little bit of talk about this here last week with a few of us, but possibly pushing the meeting date back to like the second Wednesday of the month to give us more time from when the bank statements come out at the first of the month to prepare the treasurer's report and then get that to you. We'd still get that to you like the Friday before, but then you'd have through the next Wednesday to review that packet prior to the meeting. So think about that. And then the other thing that I would ask you to think about is if you're interested in going to an electronic board packet, and whether that's through Google Docs or one of the vendors that's out there, we can do that multiple different ways. And then you can get it even sooner, or the administrative team can be dropping stuff in there as they prepare it, even in advance of that board packet. It would just help us work more efficiently, and I think as board members, you would have that information a little quicker as well.
So are you asking, because right now it's April 10th, you would want it when? The 12th or the 19th?
We do 2 meetings in April.
I know.
Are you speaking more to the general schedule, of setting the next year's worth of meetings? And moving
Yeah,
it
not
to
changing anything coming up in the next couple of months, but we do always set the meeting schedule, and we've been on the second Monday, I think, for 25 years. But do we want to look at a different date that maybe allows us to get you stuff a little quicker? Or I'm sorry, not necessarily quicker, but more in advance. Of
More
the
time to
meeting.
process, sure. Thoughts, board members? I would
And I
be,
mean, if it helps you get the bank statements and all of that stuff, I mean, I don't really care. I don't care when we have it. Can't be Thursday nights.
I would be in favor of both presented items, the electronic board packet and also moving it to a Wednesday. I think there's much less, school events on a Wednesday.
Yeah, and then that second meeting in April, it would be a pretty quick turnaround from election day to the first meeting in April to prepare staffing, although we're sort of, anticipating both outcomes now. But there could be a chance that there would be more on that agenda on the 24th and the 10th to give us some time post-referendum to prepare, staffing contracts for you to approve.
I would say we have the second meeting scheduled, so if we need to utilize that agenda at a little larger extent, then please do so. Any other board commentary? Is there anyone not would have a problem with moving the meetings to the Wednesday versus Monday, second Wednesday of months? Say after, since we just set the May meeting, maybe look at June or something, as early as that?
Yeah, and you guys can decide in April. I just wanted you to think about it, so.
What about electronic packet delivery?
Yeah.
You want to have a problem with that, or
We should do that.
want to see more information? Okay.
Sue's daughter will be very excited
will be
when
very
that
excited.
happens, so I am totally good.
And we
with
can
that.
still print off a paper packet for you and give it to you the night of the meeting, or if somebody wants one still delivered, we can do that. It's just there's been resistance to the electronic version of it in the past, and I feel like we've got the group that's ready to move, so.
It sounds that way. All right, any further discussion? Moving on. Action item H, the 2023 Strummer Scholarship Representative. We've got information here in regards to the recommendation. It's recommended that we appoint Ms. Foyer to serve on the 2023 Strummer Scholarship Committee. Are there any questions regarding the recommendation?
Yeah, and I did print off the Stremmer Trust document. It's about a 15-page document if anybody wants to see it. So all of, what we're required to do and who is required to be on those committees is spelled out in that document. The school is not the trustee. The scholarship committee, the Marshall Scholarship Committee, is actually the trustee for the document. So they named several of those other people. So the person that you have control over as a board is the board appointee, which I'm recommending it be Linda, but if you wanted to change or have an idea of changing it, then that would be the one person that you can change.
Any discussion, board members?
Yeah, I just want to say that, that I really feel strongly that it's time to have, any place we can appoint people, it's time to have people of color on our committees. So I would like to see that happen.
Any other discussion, comments?
Do we have a community member that would take an interest in that?
I don't know that we do right now, but that's something that someone could work on asking for next year.
Yeah, I think it is something that I think we could put out for next year and
Never
Look for
out
it.
there, yeah.
look for somebody that might want to do that.
I will move for the approval of Linda Poirier
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Craig, seconded by Ms. Kwame to approve as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries on a 5-1 vote. And I will make a motion to go into do a roll call vote to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, C, E, and F. As the Board of Education may move into a closed sessions for the purposes of those listed on our posted agenda. We have a second.
Someone's a second.
Okay, it's a roll call vote.
Crave, yes.
Cummings, yes.
Schneider, yes, sorry.
Wow, yes.
That's yes.
Yes.
Lewandowski, yes. So let the time show 7:33, and we will take a 10-minute recess, allow the cameras to be turned on, and we will then get into our closed session. Thank you.